BBAI has continued to remain strong after that very drastic gap down. We see that price really rebounds here, as we covered on the last BBAI video. After that huge gap down, guys, we see price fly upwards and really get back within that zone that we were in. We're really chopping between that psychological $6 level and that $8 level after getting that very nice movement to the upside, after building that energy and finding that movement. Kind of chopping around, looking for a movement to the upside, but we do have bad earnings for BBAI, and that plummets the stock. But we do see a very nice correction. Now we've closed in at that 614 level, and we're officially back in that zone of $6 to $8. So looking very nice here on the short term, guys. Looking like BBAI is really trying to rebound after those bad fundamentals. And today we're going to analyze if we should be expecting a continued movement to the upside, retesting these certain resistance levels, and ultimately retesting the top of that range, that $8 and that $8.72 level. All right, guys, on the weekly time frame, the first thing I like to point out about BBAI is it is a very volatile stock, right? It's one of those small cap stocks, not a stranger to these huge moves to the upside and the downside. We see these very aggressive swings upwards and downwards, and they're very quick movements. They do not really last very long. So we see, 3 weeks of aggressive price action to the upside, then we see a week of correction and continue movement up, and then we get a very big plummet downwards, and then the other big spikes we see just very quick movements to the upside and almost full retracements to the downside. But here we see a bit of different price action. So more recently, we see volume really surge in here with the stock, and we see that was once breakout level candles turn into more of an ascending profile, leading to a bigger move upwards. So where we hit that $10.36 level, then we saw that full retracement, and then we get back into another ascending kind of energy building phase, leading to another move to the upside. Not as big as this move here, nevertheless a very nice move to the upside, and then we kind of chop around. So different price action here from what we've been seeing on BBAI. The bad earnings come in, we gap down heavy, but buyers buy it right back up with continued good news, as well as investors buying that point, not expecting it to go down further. That's what really skyrockets BBAI back up to the zone it was in, and we currently remain within that zone once again, guys. So we're looking for a retest of $8, and the level on our channel that we have is that $10 level, that 1036 to be exact, if we can really break out of this zone here. So promising signs that we did recover very nicely and very quickly. All right, guys, on the daily chart, we get a better view of that movement. So we got that ascending profile, and we see volume really surge up. Very obvious ascending profile on the volume as we spike up to that 872, and then we see some back and forth. So we see some ping pong like action, finding that better support level at that $622 level. And we do see kind of a pennant-like formation get formed. We see that we find some obvious support and some resistance, and then we're looking for a squeeze outwards, but the sellers win that battle, plummeting us a little bit further down, not bouncing off that 622, but off that $6 psychological level. And then we get a movement back up. We find some pretty obvious resistance at that 718, kind of reject there. Test that once again. That's when the bad earnings plummet us down a lot, about 28%. But then you see the buyers really buy this thing back up, coming all the way back to around that $6 level. See a little bit of indecision, but the buyers continue their move upwards, getting right back within that range. So incredible to see that the buyers did react very quickly. Right after those bad earnings, a lot of investors bought right back in. We had some good news surge in like we talked about in the last BBI video. And then we see price come back up and recover. So a very nice sign from a technical perspective. And it's nice to see that the fundamentals did correct pretty much right after those earnings reports. So very nice on both sides of things. And now what you want to look on the short term is, since we are back in this range, you want to just see a continued movement to the upside. Don't want to see us get held up too much here. Want to trend back to the ultimate level of 718, that being a more newfound, tougher resistance. So you see the first time we cross that zone, get right above that quite easily. We see a bit of indecision coming back below that, and once again, kind of mirroring, guys, indecisive candles before we move to the upside with a very nice green wide bar. Find that resistance again, and we kind of chop back and forth, try to get tight, but we do flush and get right back under that resistance of 718. Try to get above that. We see those wicks above that, showing that buyers did try to make their move above. Cannot get it there. Flush a bit lower, but we make a higher low out of this formation. Test it again, can't get it. Test it another day. We see even more selling pressure on that day. Very much indecisive, and that leads us to the gap down being fundamental, and then a very nice recovery. So it shows that BBI does want to stay within this range. The buyers don't want to get pushed down. Ultimately do want to continue their move to the upside. Nice to see that we've recovered, and the buyers are trying to continue their trend to the upside. All right, guys, on the hourly, this is where we get that gap down all the way to around that $475 level. So we see that very nice move to the upside, and then instead of getting an aggressive pullback, we see a very small pullback and just really chopping sideways. And then from chopping sideways a bit on the hourly, we get a nice movement to the upside, reclaiming that $6 level, getting over that, and now we're looking to reclaim that as support and trend to that 622. That being a stronger support and a more baseline support of this structure. So BBI looking very bullish in the short term, guys. Exactly what you want to see after a very bad gap down. pretty much the best case scenario, really slingshotting back up. Sellers try to step in here and they cannot get their move to the downside, and we continue our move to the upside. So very nice to see that we are back in this range, and the price target, guys, in the very short term is we get above that 622 and then we get back to that 718 level, see if we can break that resistance and continue trending to the upside. So we remain bullish on BBAI, especially if we could break that 622 and hold that as support. For the bears, guys, watch that 622 to reject hard, leading us to a attempted pullback. See if that 6 can hold. If that 6 can't hold, see if this general chop range can hold, that being around 560 to 555-ish level. And those are the main zones you want to watch here. If the bears get in control, that would probably be at that 622, rejecting us there, as that was a nice support in the past. Could turn into a rejection point. If we get past that nicely, I think we look very clear to that 718. That being the next resistance you'd really want to keep your eye on. But yeah, guys, BBI looking very good here from the short term as well as a long term perspective. If we could continue winning these battles and if buyers can continue a stair step like pattern to the upside. All right, guys, so that's all I got for you. Very nice correction, and BBI continues their movement to the upside. So looking very good for the buyers here. I think that if the bears get into control, they'll have to be sooner than later. Finding a little bit of a pullback and see if buyers can hold at certain support levels. But I like what I'm seeing here. Remain bullish, and we do have the short-term price target of 718. Now, let me know your price predictions in the comments below. Where do you guys see this stock going in the short and long term? And if you guys want me to continue covering BBAI, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, guys, trade smart, and I'll see you all in the next one.